Kia ora, everybody. Welcome to this live chat, celebrating the holidays with tamariki. My name is Lisa, and I'm a Plunket nurse. I'm working on Plunket Line. I've been at Plunket Line for just over 3 years, and I've got my colleague here, Nicole. Nicole, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody today?
Yeah. Kia ora, everyone. I'm Nicole. I'm a clinical leader here for Plunket Line. I haven't been here as long as Lisa, but I also have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old tamariki, so this is very on topic for me.
Awesome, thank you. Um, And, just to encourage you guys, if you do have questions, pop them in the chat and we will sure to answer them. The key messages that we're going to talk today include water safety, outdoor safety, sun, heat, hydration. All these things are, part of the summer season.
Mm,
People traveling, road safety, new environments, visiting families, food, eating, allergies. We all love eating during this time. Medication and health preparedness, toys and household hazards. Just to put a plug out there as well. So if you do have questions that you're not comfortable about asking on the phone when you call Plunket Line, you can ask Aroha via the Plunket website. That's a great place to ask questions and you will remain anonymous. Awesome. Okay, so Nicole, the first question we're going to ask is, what is some advice you would share to whānau going out and about in the great outdoors? And especially around water.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Lisa. So, I guess, it's just general water safety advice, making sure babies, toddlers, tamariki are within arm's reach, especially when they're in or around water, because again, water only has to be the depth of your little finger for a little one to drown. So, constant supervision is the best way to keep children safe in, on, and around water. Not to make this chat sad, but drowning is a leading cause of child death in New Zealand. Children who drown have usually been playing alone or without an adult watching them. Common situations are family group events where children can sometimes go unseen. So we don't want to be relying on, an older sibling to look after younger ones, especially around water. Older children, as we know, can be easily distracted, and we don't want to give them that much responsibility. Things like putting your phone away, making sure it's on silent when you're supervising children around water, because a child can drown in the time that it takes you to read or write a text message. And if
Mm.
you're choosing, to answer a ringing phone, or maybe, you've got your child in a pool out the back and the door's knocking, make sure you grab that child out of the pool, take them with you, wrap them up in a towel. It's just better to be safe.
Mm.
And always emptying things like a paddling pool, turn it upside down. This prevents water collecting in it. And just remembering around like water temperature. So if water feels cold to an adult, it's definitely too cold for an infant. This goes for hot pools too. Babies and young tamariki cannot regulate their own temperature. Pools need above 37.8 degrees are not safe for children under 3. Tamariki should not stay in a thermal pool for longer than 15 minutes as well. So if you're heading to the hot pools or anything like that, just to keep those things in mind. And yeah, so geothermal or mineral hot pools are not recommended for children under the age of 6 months, just because their immune systems are not fully developed, making them more vulnerable to infection. And then we talk about some camping tips. So, when you're out camping, there's waterways that you might encounter. So, just being mindful if you're near a stream or a lake, things like that. Just being mindful that there are bugs and stings and things that can happen when you're outdoors. So, carrying any bug spray with you, things like that. Just be mindful of bees, wasps, spiders, mosquitoes. Checking little ones for any bite marks or anything like that can be really helpful before you're putting babies to bed or anything. And then I guess around camping, it's like making sure children are safe around like the tent strings. I know personally I've tripped on a few tent strings in my life. So yeah. And
Yeah.
just things like campfires, if you are getting the guitar out and roasting some marshmallows, just being mindful, where baby is or where the
Mm,
tamariki are in relation to
mm,
that fire.
mm.
Another thing is making sure you know where your urgent closest where your where your closest urgent care is, because we don't want to spend New Year's in a urgent care, but it's better to know where it
No.
is in case something happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having a first aid kit with you can help save the scrambling when unexpected things like a temperature might hit or a stub toe. And then talking along the lines of campfires, also things like barbecues, fire pits, they can all be a risk to little people. So making sure that they're being supervised around anything that's hot. Lisa mentioned when you're traveling and you might be going to different houses, so visiting relatives with dogs or animals that are maybe
Mm,
especially not used to having little people around. I know that my kids sometimes walk around with a piece of food in their hand. So if a dog's around a little person and they're not used to that, they could potentially bite, if they're not used to getting their
mm.
tail tugged, their ears pulled, all of those things. I mean, animals can be really unpredictable, and we need to
Yeah.
be supervising our tamariki around them. And then just the other thing to be mindful would be like rural hazards. So if you're going to visit a relative that live on a farm, maybe your children are from the city and they're not used to all of the hazards that can be on a farm, things like troughs, electric fences, even stock. Um,
Mm.
just being, yeah, it all comes down to that active supervision. Um, and just remember that age-old saying is you always leave a gate the way you found it. You don't want to be
Yeah.
responsible for letting out a whole herd of sheep or anything like that.
That's great.
Um, yeah. So being out in the sun is almost guaranteed for most of us over summer. Lisa, what would
Yeah.
some advice be around keeping our skin safe and staying hydrated when out and about?
Thank you for that question. I think the old saying of slip, slop, slap, and wrap is a great yeah, it's a great idea and really important, especially those that live in some of the sunny areas of New Zealand. Um, Reapplying sunscreen, so that's for generally we recommend over the age of 6 months. Children under the age of 6 months, sunscreen isn't recommended, so it is about wrapping them up, putting a hat on their head, light clothes. Uh, Babies do or can get burnt while they are under trees, so just making sure that you are keeping an eye on that. Um, Sunglasses as well for the older child, if you can keep them on, is really good as well. Um, and of course, we do say that the between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. is the strongest sun rays in New Zealand. So prefer taking your kids out in the morning, and then after 4 o'clock is ideal. Uh, if you are wanting to get a sunscreen for your over 6 months, it is good to have a chat with your pharmacist. And then once you have a sunscreen, putting a little bit on their hand, just or their arm, just to make sure that they don't or aren't allergic to that sunscreen. As we know, lots of children or have sensitive skin, so just being mindful
Mm,
of that. And then, of course, just remembering, and we'll talk a little bit about it as well, is when you're in the car, even the sun coming in from when you're on long trips. So having a sunshade over the window is important, and we'll talk a little bit more about road trips soon. And of course, never leaving our children in the car or our pepe in the car is very important to take them out when you stop. And then, of course, being summer and hot, there are a higher risk of dehydration. So offering extra fluids to our pepe, so breast milk for pepe and formula. And then, of course, mums that are breastfeeding, increasing your fluids during summer as well, which is really important. Just a side note, some symptoms of dehydration include a dry mouth, lips or tongue, fewer wet nappies than usual or dark coloured urine, no tears when they're crying or sunken eyes, cold hands or feet, mottled, so blue or white mottled skin, and an unusual lack of energy or lethargic, unusually sleepy, or difficult to wake. If you are concerned about heat stroke or dehydration, or want to have some reassurance or some education, you can always call us on Plunket Line, and the number is there on our screen. So, and we're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Even
And
Christmas
just to,
Day.
even Christmas Day and New Year's Day and everywhere. So we are here. And also, just to sort of another side note is around helmets and making sure that we wear helmets on bikes, scooters, skateboards. Just a side note as well there. Cool.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Lisa. I got another question for you. So a big part of being out and about is actually getting from A to B, often requiring long car trips. So what advice would you give about being on and around the road with tamariki?
Perfect. I think the first thing that it's always good to talk about is driveway safety. Drive children getting hurt in driveways is very serious and can be very bad and tragic. So one thing that I would say is to make either the it is about active supervision. So making sure that if one parent's leaving, that the other parent's got all three kids, communicating that those children will be inside with the parent, or the other thing is just making sure that the children are in the car before you go, especially the older children. Do you have any other tips around child driveway safety, Nicole?
I guess it's just about being familiar with your surroundings and, like if you're away at a bach or an Airbnb or somewhere that you're not super familiar with, or there might be extra whānau, you might be staying with cousins or something, making sure, like you say, Lisa, just doing that head count, getting out, actually physically walking around the car, like don't rely on cameras and mirrors and things, do a physical check. Yeah, those would be top tips. And making sure there's no bikes you're going to run over. I know my husband ran over a bike recently and it was the end of the world for my little person. So just being careful that you're not running over any brand new Christmas presents either.
Yeah, true. Awesome. And then, of course, these long trips, some of us will take that plunge and drive some distances. And so a few tips that we have. So if you can, a parent in the back seat with the pepe is always great, just for observing them while you're driving. We recommend stopping every 2 hours or before every 2 hours. Physically, stop the car and physically take the child or the pepe out of their car seat so that they can have a stretch, they can get some fresh air, and you have a rest as well. And having snacks in the car is always good. Drink bottles, things like that. And I had a mind blank. Was there anything else, Nicole, around
No, I
road?
think just having some little activities as well, because we know how bored little people can get in the car. Thinking of some, I often think of the likes of Bluey and their car scene when they go on holiday and they play different games because they can't find the iPads. So, just having
Yeah.
some things up your sleeve, just because it can get a bit stressful. It's hot, there's traffic, there might be roadworks. Knowing New Zealand, there'll be roadworks. So, just really, preparing yourself for anything that could happen. Having some wet
Yeah.
wipes in case anyone needs to stop on the side of the road for a wee or something, just be prepared for
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. I think the other thing is being mindful of the temperature in the car when you're
Mm,
driving. So just making
traveling
sure that
at
it's
cooler
like
times.
regulated. Yeah, yeah. And then, if you've
Yeah.
got the aircon on or needing the heater on if it's cold, and just having that regular temperature
Mm,
things. And then lastly, I also thought we would talk about safe sleeping while traveling. So, you may be going to other people's houses. So, take a porta cot if they've got a asking ahead if they've got a safe place for your tamariki to sleep or your pepe to sleep. And then obviously not leaving children on beds or just keeping the place of sleep a safe place at all times during your traveling.
yeah.
Cool.
And making sure when you get there, you take baby out of the capsule if they're still in a capsule. Don't leave them
Yes.
sleeping in there. Would be another
Yeah.
top tip, I reckon.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Over the holidays, Nicole, this is for you. Over the holidays, we're often seeing more people than usual, which can be a lot for tamariki. So lots of family, lots of friends. Maybe they want to pick your child up. Um, so how can whānau make it as easy as possible?
Yeah, cool. Thank you. So I guess visiting whānau, we can be in lots of different environments, different homes, things like that. So this can vary from like navigating maybe grandma's collection of porcelain figures that, are very precious to her and ensuring that little people's hands aren't, getting on them because that's for your own sake. But also, being a little bit serious, checking on things like hazards around people's homes. This could be things like stairs, curtain cords, medications, knowing where the alcohol cupboard is, if it's accessible to little people, cleaning chemicals, just having a quick scan of people's homes inside and out for hazards that your tamariki may not be used to being exposed to. Outside things might be like garden poisons, power tools, yard tools, just different things that, yeah, you might not come across in your life, but it could be a hazard visiting somebody else. And as you said, Lisa, sometimes little people can get passed around quite a lot at these whānau events, and they can get overstimulated in new places or around lots of new people. They can get overstimulated really quickly, being passed around, which can then lead to a very overtired pepe. So sometimes it's okay to say no to passing the baby around, maybe putting them in a
Mm,
stretchy wrap, wearing them on you, or just I guess having to be a little bit firm about those boundaries just to protect yourself and your baby from having those potential ongoing side effects of them being overtired and hot and yeah.
mm,
And then the other thing would be sometimes navigating other whānau and people and your expectation versus their expectation for tamariki, things that you may not be okay with or being comfortable with, that other people might try and push those boundaries. So just being able to communicate your expectations, um, and just I mean, you may or may not feel comfortable about negotiating them or flexing the boundaries a little bit for the holiday season. Um, but if your tamariki doesn't want to give an extended family member a cuddle, and the family members, pushing them a little bit, it's okay to push back and just say no. She doesn't want to
mm,
cuddle you right now. Like, you can
mm,
do it in a respectful way that doesn't need to be, yeah, I guess jarring, but it's about protecting yourself, your baby's, your tamariki's expectations. That can go for food
mm,
as well. You might have a baby that's not had solids yet, and you might see granddad with his finger in the pav off the cream trying to put it in your baby's mouth. So just being able to, push back a little bit on that sort of stuff.
yeah.
Because we don't want little babies having an upset tummy and then, yeah, not wanting to sleep and things like that. So,
Mm,
yeah,
mm,
you don't have to be okay with things that don't sit well for you.
yeah.
Um,
It's great.
yeah. All
It's
right,
really
I
good.
got one for you, Lisa. So, holiday season isn't the same without food, as we know.
Yes.
Every time I'm asking anyone, "What are you doing for the holidays?" and it's always something to do with food. But it can
Yeah.
be a lot of new things for little ones. What kind of things should caregivers and whānau be mindful of?
Yeah. Thanks, Nicole. And I think, yeah, like you said, there are lots of food, people bringing food from their home, and of course having food, even things like pavlova, strawberries, raspberries, just potential allergens, and then even new foods as well that your children may be exposed to. And that includes, like you've got like a sharing platter or a grazing table, and some of our older toddlers can climb up onto the chair and grab items of food that they haven't tried, nuts, tree nuts, yeah, again, pavlova, strawberries, all sorts of things. And so
Mm.
just, yeah,
Yeah.
being active supervision again. And then that also leads me on to the choking hazards as well. So yeah, hard lollies, marshmallows, berries. Some people get Macintoshes, of course, the old lolly that sticks
I
in your
swear you
teeth.
only ever see those around at Christmas time, eh?
Yeah. And so, yeah, and even food that's not, like a person that doesn't have children or like an older adult or whoever may prepare food that is not cut up appropriately for your tamariki. So just being mindful of the catering at the house,
Yes.
at your house, and
I don't
at,
know
and at other
I don't know
people's
if
houses.
Yeah, I don't know if your family's like mine, Lisa, but there's normally big bowl of chips and dip on like a coffee table. So even things like that, that you might not
Mm,
necessarily think of, but if the chip breaks off and little people aren't used to eating chips, that again could be a bit of a choking hazard. So it
yeah,
just always comes back down to that supervision, right?
yeah, totally. And that goes for popcorn as well. Hey, popcorn's
Mm,
another one that's yeah.
yeah.
Cool. And if you do, again, a little plug for Plunkett Line, if there are any sort of reactions, allergens, or you have questions about allergens with food, please don't hesitate to call us anytime. We are available
Yeah.
to help you through that. Awesome. Okay, another question. Uh, Something you mentioned when we were planning this chat is the beauty of in having a first aid kit with you. When you're out and about this summer, what would you recommend keeping on hand?
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Yeah, so this story came about from I actually had a friend who lives about an hour from the beach. She was at the beach. My house is only 20 minutes from the beach, and she in the night needed Pamel for her son. And instead of ringing me and saying, "Hey Nicole, do you have some Pamel?" She drove all the way back to her house to get the Pamel to drive all the way back to camping at the beach. So, it's just about having those things in your kit, like some ibuprofen, Pamel, syringes, plasters, a thermometer could be handy. If your kid's known to having any allergies or, might react to bug bites, having some antihistamines on hand. It doesn't have to be an extensive kit with, a defib basically in there or crepe bandages,
Mm,
things like that. It can just be simple. It could be in a snap-lock bag with just a few things that you might need that you don't want to be racing off in the middle of the night, driving an hour to go and get from a 24-hour pharmacy or something like that.
mm,
And then in talking about, making sure we have those things on hand, it's also about making sure we also keep those items safely stored, and other medications that as adults we might have with us, and just keeping them out of reach. Other things like drugs, alcohol, anything like that, just keeping it well out of reach of babies. Things like vapes as well. We've heard horror stories of children
mm,
picking up vapes because they don't know, they might think it's a whistle or something and having a suck on it, and so we just wanna try and mitigate any hazards
mm,
through
mm,
just keeping them locked away.
mm.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Cool. Last thing. So lastly, toys. So it's one of the things that tamariki, and I know my children are literally counting down for Santa. Um,
Same.
they really look forward to it. So as we've seen in the media recently with the coloured sand products, things like that, to be vigilant
Mm,
about what's safe for tamariki. So are you able to
mm.
shed some light on toy
Yeah.
safety for us?
Yeah. And the other day, I was talking to someone and they said a great tip is even just to unwrap or unbox the toy that you're going to
Mm,
give to the child. And especially if there's things like button batteries or batteries that you can put the batteries into the toy and then rewrap the present. I thought that was a great
yeah.
idea. And then they can open it
Mm.
and then it's already making noise
Play
and
with it straight
you know
away. Yeah, yeah,
go for gold. And so yeah, that's probably the biggest one. And even just like after you've opened the presents, generally, we'll sit down as a family and open presents, and then myself or my husband will go around and clean up all the paper and there's like little
the
twisty
table
ties and things
ties,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah, and so making sure they're all out of the way, so that if there are small children, that that they're going to be safe and that there's no hazards around that. Um, and then also just with lots of toys and things on the market, checking out product recalls. And a great way to do that is, or to be aware, is that Plunkett do Facebook posts around recalls, product recalls, and we will share a link in the chat around. There is a website that you can go on. I don't remember what it's called, but there is a website around product recall. um, yeah.
It's funny you mentioned, Lisa, about unwrapping the toys before well, unpackaging them before you wrap them. I was on a flight last week and the flight attendant actually said the same thing, but for dogs. So she'd given her dog a present and it unwraps it and then it would run off with this toy and she couldn't catch the dog to try and take the packaging off. So now she's learned that she has to unpackage it and then wrap it. So as soon as it's open, the dog can play with it, which I thought was
Oh,
very cute.
yeah, that is cool. Awesome.
Mm,
Thank you, Nicole. And
yeah.
thank you to everybody for coming today. We do have one question from we may have a few questions, sorry, from Jana Adams. My 4-month-old absolutely hates car rides. We have planned to go to the beach 40 minutes away. He won't even last a 5-minute drive. Do you have any tips around this? We have toys, but he's just not interested.
Yeah, so I don't know about you, Lisa, but straight away I'd think about pulling the car seat out of the car and just give it a really good clean to make sure that there's nothing sitting in the car seat that might be, I don't know, digging into his leg that we might not be able to feel. Another good tip is getting them used to the car seat inside the home, so you could pop baby in the car seat and just play with him inside just so that you can eliminate whether it's actually the motion of the
Mm,
car or whether it's the car seat itself. Just creating those positive reinforcements around the car seat. So when he goes in it, he's not all of a sudden associating it with a bad memory of going in the car. You can, play games, play peekaboo, and then once he's happy in the car seat, moving it to the car. Maybe you're not going anywhere, maybe you're just having a quick play in the car, getting back out, teaching him that it is a positive association, really. Do you have any other
mm,
tips, Lisa?
mm. I don't know whether it is if she does have her partner that could drive, and she could sit in the back. Um, yeah, I don't. I think what you've said is really good. Just
Yeah, I mean, it
have
could
them.
even come down to like time of the day that you're traveling. Maybe baby's happier at a
Yeah.
certain time of the day. Maybe it's right on nap time so that the nap happens
Mm,
in the car, or it
yeah.
might be right after baby's had a big feed, or
Yeah,
depending,
that's a
because
good point.
obviously
Yeah.
that can go the wrong way as well, and baby could chuck through the car, which we also don't want, because I don't know about
Yeah.
you, Lisa, but I've cleaned up chuck and poo out of car seats, and it's not that much fun. So yeah, I guess it's maybe about timing it. It could be about that positive association around the car seat. Outside of that, maybe give Plunkett Line a call if you've tried all of those tips, and talk to one of the nurses on the phone. They might be able to give you a bit of a plan.
Cool. We have another question. How do we celebrate holidays with tamariki when around pools at Airbnbs?
Cool. So I guess this is just around hazards. It's around that active supervision, making sure if there's gates, they remain shut. So if someone goes through it, shut the gate.
Mm,
Knowing where your baby is at all times, your tamariki. Don't rely on things like flotation devices to keep
mm,
children safe. So, the best thing would be like a life jacket with a crotch strap. But even that, like, you can't just rely on that. It needs to be while you're actively supervising. Um, yeah. Any other tips, Lisa?
yeah, I think that's really important. Water safety is, yeah, it is all about active supervision by an adult.
Yeah.
And if you need to change over, taking the child away from the water and swapping over to a different adult. But yeah, I think that's the best advice is to, yeah, just be active at all times.
Mm.
And yeah, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you, Nicole. It's been awesome to chat, and thank you to everybody for commenting and those couple of questions. And have a very safe and happy holiday, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Lisa. And yeah, Merry Christmas to everyone. Enjoy the holiday season. Enjoy spending time with family, friends, eating that yummy food. And just remember that Plunkett Line is here 24/7, 7 days a week. So if you have any questions, just pick your phone up and give us a call.